So this church is why we need to be in a new place. I noticed all the songs we sang tonight were about deep calling to deep.
Yes.
About the harvest, about the flow, about the things that God is interested in. And I saw the prophetic bend of the songs we were singing tonight, and it was declaring who we are as the church.
Come on.
Not any problems, not any shortcomings. No, about who God has called us to be. The harvest is there. We all know we're at the end of times. You don't need a prophetic voice to stand up here and say, things are crazy in the world and Jesus is coming soon. Y'all can see that. It's very evident now.
Yeah.
I've been saying this same message for years about Jesus is coming soon, and back in the day, it wasn't so obvious. People weren't so looking for the Lord. But now the church is awake and looking and knowing that things are very screwed up in the earth. In fact, I have some scriptures that, let's put up Isaiah chapter 5, verse 20. And I won't even open mine, I'll just read from up there. Let's put it up in the King James Version. Woe to those who call evil good and good evil, who put darkness for light and light for darkness, who put bitter for sweet and sweet for bitter. So this is what the prophet was talking about. The days we're living in now. Good is being called evil. Who's the good in the earth? The church, us. Those that are standing for what God says. If God says that he believes in life and we say, we believe in life, we're called bad people.
Come on now.
If we say that God says that marriage is between one man and one woman, and it is a covenant of marriage, and it's called a holy sacrament before God, it's called a holy ceremony. Now people can go out and do civil unions and do all kinds of things that the world anoints and the world blesses. That's their business. But when you do a marriage in the church, God says that he will only recognize what is holy to him, and that is a union between one man and one woman. Amen. We can't change God's precept. We must submit ourselves to God and his word. When we say that a life that is created, that upon conception, it is a life created by God, come down from the Father above, and we say that we promote this life, the world calls it evil.
Come on.
And calls it against a person's right. You see, we're not saying our opinion when we say these things. We're saying what God says.
Come on now.
But Isaiah, the prophet, thousands of years ago said, woe to those who call evil good and good evil. We best not be amongst those that are doing that, because woe be unto us.
Come on now.
You see, the church, and maybe let's do a couple more scriptures before I get into that, because I want to build this foundation. Let's go to 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 1. Praise God, I'm talking to the church. I'm talking to God's people tonight.
Amen.
This know also, that in the last days perilous times shall come. Let's go to verse 2. For men shall be lovers of their own selves, covetous, boasters, proud, blasphemers, disobedient to parents, unthankful, unholy. Let's go on to verse 3. Without natural affection, truce breakers, false accusers, incontinent, fierce, despiser of those that are good. You get the idea that, again, that he had a revelation that in the last days that men would be more consumed with their own flesh.
Come on now.
Now, again, I say unto you, the church can be part of that group. The church should not be a part of that group, but we all know that we can participate that.
Come on
Now let's go to Revelation chapter 18, verse 3. It says, for all nations have drunk of the wine of the wrath of her fornication, and the kings of the earth have committed fornication with her, and the merchants of the earth are waxed rich through the abundance of her delicacies. Let's go on to verse 4. And I heard another voice from heaven saying, come out of her, my people, that ye may not be partakers of her sins, and that ye receive not of her plagues. Verse 5. For her sins have reached unto heaven, and God hath remembered her iniquities. So what we're seeing prophetically in Revelation is that there is that Babylonian system, which represents the world system. And that there comes a time when that system becomes full of the wine, of the cup of fornication and sin. And we know that in Romans 6:23, that the wages of sin is what? Death. It's death. So I believe prophetically we are at the time where the Babylonian system has reached its fullness. Sin is full. We're at the place where we have the inversion now of probably about half the population of the world that believes that good is evil and evil is good. And they believe in their own self-righteousness, their own self-satisfaction above all else. And they're drinking of that cup of iniquity. And it's very serious because that cup gives death. And what we're seeing even in the church is that we're seeing that there is that separation. Remember in the book of Revelation where it talks about that, when it's talking about the churches, and it says, I wish that you would be either hot or cold, and if you're lukewarm, I'll spit you out. We're seeing the separation now between the righteous and the unrighteous. Those that are maybe lukewarm in the church, they're either getting hot, they're moving over to the church, or they're dropping out.
Come on now.
And we're also seeing, because the wages of sin is death, and we're seeing that cup of abomination in Revelation, it is now full. And the Lord said very clearly, he says, come out of her. Don't drink of that cup. It's deadly. And